Ever gotten lost in AI, not know how to use it in your everyday life as a leader, as a business owner, just as a human being? This is a conversation for you. My friend Morgan Knox is an AI expert. She speaks at it in such a practical way. We go through three different examples. You're going to want to watch the video on this one. The audio is great, but the video is super powerful. She's going to show you screen share of how to use some incredible tools. Here's my friend Morgan. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome, everybody, to the Pillars of Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Eford, and I have a true market maverick with me today. Morgan Knox and I have had the opportunity to speak at a couple of conferences together. Not share the stage, but wow. If you've ever had questions about AI, and we've had some great guests on AI, but Morgan provides it in such a practical way. So I'm so excited for you to hear from my friend Morgan. Morgan, those who may not know you, give us just a real quick overview of your career path with AI specifically.
Okay, Matthew, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really thrilled to get to join and talk about one of my favorite subjects. Quick highlight of me and my career path. I joke with everyone that I'm a recovering accountant. I come from a background in being a managing partner in a bookkeeping and tax firm that specifically focuses on working with skilled trade contractors. But a handful of years ago, I sold my part of that business and moved into doing consulting and coaching full time because I just love being hands-in to the operations of the businesses that we work with. So AI became a really big presence in the work that I was doing right around 2022. I first started using different AI tools for personal hobbies and pursuits like creative image and video generation, and started to see how impactful it was for so many components. First, for like marketing and image and logo creation. And as tools like ChatGPT entered the market, and we started to see this big surge of new types of AI that was becoming available for small businesses. I was just, already hands in and really enjoying it from initially a hobbyist perspective, pulling that into the consulting and business coaching that I was doing. And before long, AI pretty much became the only thing anybody ever wants to come talk to me about. And I get it. It's because it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing with our audience about AI because so many people hear it, they hear the buzzwords, and they're like, I don't know what this is. And so conceptually, let's not go there. Let's take a practical approach. Okay, so practically, business owner, small business owner is hearing this. They hear AI. That maybe they've gone to ChatGPT and asked it some questions. Let's give them a couple of practical things that they can start to implement in their workflow to be more efficient, to provide better customer service, to empower their team better. Why don't we take that path?
I love that. And I think it's a great opportunity to dive into the practicals. So we're gonna get a chance to pull up some demos and get hands in. So I think like broad theme here, right? Most people, most contractors that I work with say, I know it's a thing, it does lots of different stuff. I know I need it, but where do I start? And so, with all of the, we work with a lot of builders, construction companies, and a lot of contractors right now. And where we always like to start is let's figure out how to get hands in with like two or three initial low hanging fruit areas of the business, which I
Okay.
think you and I can unpack today. The first one that I want to talk through with you is like this idea about SOPs that your team is actually going to use. So, one, for most businesses, actually getting to that point where you have documentation, where you
Yeah.
have SOPs written down, it's a pretty big challenge. Don't you see that?
Sure.
How
Oh,
that
oh yeah. Yeah. I can remember as we were scaling, right? I just had an incredible conversation with Sam Taggart, and we were talking about this idea of growth mode and profit mode. And when you're in growth mode, it is so challenging to focus on those little details, right? This is how we do this, and we're adding new team members, and we're anticipating when you go from a solopreneur to adding your first hire, or for us when you add that second crew that you as the owner are not managing. There's so many issues that you come across very quickly, and you realize, oh shoot, these people aren't inside my head. They don't know what I'm thinking. I've got to put some procedures in place, SOP, standard operating procedure. I got to document the way I talk to customers, the way I talk to employees, the way I answer the phone, the way that we handle billing, the way that we handle quoting, like across the board. How if I was going to leave for a week for my business, would it operate without me?
Exactly. And in olden times, and by olden times, we're talking like 5 years ago, this was one of the hardest things for most contracting business owners and most business owners in general to do because it was so hard to take the time
Yeah,
to get out of your head, right?
sure.
Um, so I think that's one of the first places that AI plugs in most easily in a business, which is like, and I like to say, just start recording everything. Record everything that you are doing, record everything that your team is doing. And you and I have talked about this before, Matthew, that like part of the big reason why we want to say that is when you start recording all of the things, the conversations you're having, the training you're doing, your client interactions, this is all of the data that is now the gold mine of your business. It's the magic sauce, right? And in olden times, 5+ years ago, having those recordings didn't do a whole lot for you because it
Okay.
was expensive to do much with it. But now with AI, almost all of those recording platforms and people use all kinds of tools. Your phone is the perfect recording device. You can really easily start transcribing all of those things, make it really AI friendly. And it's now easier than ever with like a couple of quick clicks. You've converted this into this wonderful body of processes and knowledge documentation that's exactly how you achieve all of the things that you achieve inside of your business.
I love that. And so, anything specific that you recommend when you say recording on your phone? Is it opening up your the notes voice notes app and actually having that recording and saying, "Hey, Morgan and I are going to have a conversation about this," and it records? Can you kind of answer that question for our business owners?
Okay, but I'm going to answer it first with a question back at you, Matthew. How are you recording the things that are happening in your business? Because I know you've got some note takers. I'm looking at one right now.
Yeah,
Let me
we've got them on all of our video calls. We've got those, and then all of our phone calls are recorded. And so then we're dropping those into a platform that we're going to talk about here is NotebookLM, and trying to analyze what we're doing, scripting. Are we staying on script? Are we answering the correct questions? How's it, training going? Those things.
So the answer that I have to that question is the absolute best recording app is the one you actually use.
Yeah.
So there's so many of them out there now. They're really, really cheap. And a lot of them, so like I can see that you're using Fathom for this call early, early on. I was a really big fan of Otter
Yeah.
AI. And I still think Otter is great. Things like Otter, things like I use one right now that I really like that's called Crisp with a K,
Okay.
KRISP. But even just the things that you guys have already with Zoom recordings, Google Teams recordings, Microsoft recordings, there's probably a lot of things most of you are already recording and just hadn't been thinking about it. Or it's as simple as turning on a default setting and having it record things. So everything digital for sure is very easy to record because almost all of those platforms do it naturally. But also most of them have make it pretty easy now. They have a mobile app. Just get in the habit of opening up that mobile app and hitting record as well. So you can do local recordings, whether you set that phone down in the middle of a team meeting, it's going to do a really good job of capturing that audio. If you just hit record, have your sales team members remember to hit record when they're talking to clients and just say, hey, I'm just going to record this for notes. I'm going to share a recap of our conversation with you afterwards. And it's really just about whatever's easiest.
I
So
love that.
we mentioned a few names, but also your phone has natural recording apps. Google has like recorder.google.com that works great. And almost all of them now already transcribe it. And that transcription is what you'll use to copy and paste into AI and turn it into anything you want.
Fantastic. Okay. So now we're recording. What do we do with it?
Great, great question. So I like to say, first and foremost, if you're not ready to do anything with it, that's fine. Still record it. Like just start compiling it all, storing it, saving it somewhere. This is that whole like plant a tree, and in 40 years, you're going to be so happy that you did because all of that content, it's getting easier and easier to use AI. If you're not using it today, you can use it in a couple of years, or someone else is going to want to use it to get some really good information. But when you are ready to start using those recordings for things, low-hanging fruit, quick note recaps, checklist deliverables for any team meetings. But one of the use cases that is my personal favorite from an operations management perspective, you mentioned it, which is SOPs that your team is actually going to use. So those of us that got over the hurdle and documented a lot of processes and got things written down and started handing binders to our teams to keep in the truck, what was the first thing we found when we did that, Matthew?
Uh, Oftentimes the notebook gets very dirty. They get lost, and people are like, they still come to you and ask, and you say, "But I thought we went over this. I thought we gave you this fancy notebook. Why didn't you read that?" And they're like, "Oh, I threw that away my first day of work." I'm like, well, I wish you wouldn't have done that.
Exactly. It's not the easiest thing in the world for people to navigate. They forget. It's not quick and easy and accessible for them. It's a lot faster for them to just ask you or ask
Yeah.
their project lead or something like that. So, what I like to say is once we've got those recordings, it's quick and easy to convert them into some great process documents. But we know that that's not always the easiest thing for people to use. So, now AI has created some really great tools that have made it easier than ever for us to take those SOPs and put them in a format that's more engaging and easier to use than ever before. So, I think you and I are going to pull up a demo
Yeah,
here
please.
and we're going to
So
talk
for
about.
as Morgan gets this pulled up, if you're just listening on Apple or Amazon, hop over to Spotify where you can see the video, or YouTube where you can see the video. That way you can see their screen record. This is going to be super, super helpful. I've seen her go through this a few times now, and it's humbling what is the opportunity that's out there.
Well, I think my favorite part of chatting with you is hearing that you saw us go through it and you actually implemented, which is my favorite thing. And this is one of the things that most pros that I work with get the most excited about. So those of you who are listening on audio, you're still going to get to hear some really cool stuff. So the tool that we're going to demo today, one of my favorites to share, is called NotebookLM. If you want to go check it out, it's notebooklm.google.com. So I love this because right now it's free if you have a Google account, which almost everyone does. So not only is this tool really high impact, super, super neat, it's so accessible. So it's like a great jumping off point for you guys. So Notebook LM is Google's, it came from what Google calls their AI kitchen. It's like all of their cool experimenting products. And this has just taken off because they've invested so much effort into good learning science and in making content inside of these notebooks as engaging as ever.
Okay.
So I want to ask you, Matthew, first time that I showed you Notebook LM, what was like the light bulb that it gave you? What was the thing that made you most excited about Notebook?
The two things that stood out to me a lot were the fact that you could do the podcast. So we could send out a weekly podcast on a specific SOP as something that the guys or gals in the office or in the field can listen to as they go. That was super incredible that it could create it. It could create it in such a platform that it was engaging. It wasn't just me. So that was very nice. And then having a place that they could go and ask questions and dialogue back and forth. Because what we found early on with ChatGPT is you'd ask questions and it's like, I don't have a clue. I don't know any of your processes. I don't know who you are. It would hallucinate. It would do all those things. But in this platform, at least what it does is it gives us some articulation around our SOPs. So here's our process, not just a general process. Here's our process. Here's where they can engage with that process, ask questions, do a quiz, do a test. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect explanation of like what makes this so magical compared to just talking to any chat AI, which is that when you build a notebook, you can make it topic specific, but basically this notebook is taking all of the documents and training materials that you give it. So in our case, we're talking about your team's SOPs, your employee handbook, your safety procedures and documentation, things like that that you've had sitting around on drives or printed out in binders. You drop it in here, and then you know that anytime you point your team to this, or a member of your team comes to talk to the AI, it's getting all of the information that's specific to your business, which is great. A huge relief for us that are, we want to put good guardrails in place when it comes to policy and process and procedure.
Yeah.
Um, the second part about this is so amazing is how easy it is. It's really drag and drop. So those of you who can see the screen share, I'm just showing, um, when you open up a notebook here, I have an example notebook that I dropped, and this is talking about collaborative block scheduling for teams. This is a big thing that I do with my operational teams. But when you want to add sources in here, since Notebook's part of Google, they've made it really easy. So you can drag and drop files directly from your computer. You can open up your Google Drive workspace and point the notebook at things that are living on your Google Drive. But you can also drop links. Like you can drop a YouTube link, you can drop website links, and it's going to go do the work for you. It's going to go look at the transcript and the notes of that video. It's going to go crawl all over that website and find all the information you want. So if you want to drop your own website URL in there, it'll go find out information. And it has a handy little discover thing that you can use to like search for things. Like if I wanted to search for OSHA procedures, if I wanted to check things with the state website, it'll actually go out and help find things and let you pick what you want to bring back in too. It also supports audio, which is really neat. So if you recorded some stuff, if you haven't even transcribed it, you can drop that in here and it'll take all that information in and turn it into some really great formats that we're going to take a look at that make it even better and easier for your team to engage with.
I love it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is a standout with an AI tool, if we're going to review it, is how good does this tool make you look? So Matthew, when you rolled this out, when you rolled this out with your team and you started showing them how they could engage with information, how did it feel for you guys?
They were we started with our office staff, and it was you're the smartest thing since sliced bread, and it was, this is an incredible resource because for our team as we look to scale, this is scalable. This is something that we can have a proven implemented process that we can hire our next 20 employees, 100 employees, that we can bring on our next 20 franchises, our next 100 franchises, right? This is something that we are super thrilled about, that we are just on the entry level of depth that we can go with it as our team is getting acclimated with it. We're very excited.
Love that. And so this is like, it highlights all the reasons why this is a great win because people get nervous about AI. They get nervous about technology, right? It's this thought of like, well, what's it going to do to replace me? Is this challenging me? Is this a threat? And so this is a really wonderful low threat way to start using AI in your business because it really is showcasing all of the ways that you're making your team's lives easier. I want this to be so easy for you to use, to reference. I'm putting all of the power in your hands. And the power of this tool is that it's using all of these different formats. So we call multimodal formats like video and podcasts and mind map visualizations and flashcards to try to meet your team wherever they are,
I love that.
however they learn best, right? And this is huge because, a lot of us, we don't do great just reading things. That's not the best way for us to learn information. It's part of why podcasting is so huge in our space. So we can get people in their ears or let them talk to it or ask their own questions. It's just a way, much more impactful experience for them.
So we've tossed around the podcast function of it. Can you show us, those that are listening and watching, can you show us what we're talking about with that? So you've implemented information into NotebookLM. You've uploaded your company documents, and you want to do a podcast. You don't want to hire somebody to do this podcast. You don't want to hire you and I to have to do this podcast and read through the SOPs and create some dialogue that's going to take us a long time to do this. You're going to use NotebookLM. So what does that look like, Morgan?
Yeah. So what we did is we uploaded some different source documents to the notebook. So like I mentioned, the topic of this one is block scheduling, collaborative block scheduling with teams. And the amazing part of NotebookLM is the studio section. So those of you who can see the screen share, you can see the studio, and I'm just going to talk through. You can use that knowledge base to create audio overviews, video overviews, mind maps. So let's talk about that audio overview first. It's the podcast feature. That's super neat. And I pre-generated a couple of these, and we should be sharing our audio. So I'm going to open up and then I'm going to speed up the podcast a little bit. So you guys are going to hear it probably like 1.25 times speed. So you can just hear a couple of minutes of this was one click. It took 3 minutes to create this podcast, and you can customize them too, which I'll show you in a second. But first, let's just get in and listen. So this is a podcast about collaborative block scheduling for teams.
Ever feel like you're just drowning in to-dos? Especially when you're working on a team? it can get really crazy.
Absolutely.
So today we are diving deep into a system that promises to make things run a little bit smoother.
Okay.
It's called collaborative block scheduling.
Hmm.
And it's all about maximizing time and
Okay.
productivity
Yeah.
when working with a team.
I like it.
So what's interesting about the source material that we're looking at for this deep dive is that it's essentially a conversation between somebody who's like an expert in the system
Okay.
teaching it to a new team member.
Okay.
So we're kind of like flies on the wall here,
I like that.
getting this insider's perspective on how it works.
Cool.
One of the things that they bring up right away is this idea of time fallacy.
Time fallacy.
Have you heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, so basically it's this idea that we all underestimate how long things actually take.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
We've all been there.
you think, oh, this will only take an hour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then 5 hours later, you're still working on it.
Yes. Definitely guilty of that.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
That's true.
And so just so everyone knows, that was not Morgan and I talking.
We might be out of a job here shortly, Matthew.
I know. It's amazing.
It is. So, for those of you guys that are listening, so this was a 1 minute intro to what is actually a 15-minute podcast. That is all about the content of this training material about block scheduling that I gave it. And it does a great job of going into detail and unpacking the who, what, when, where, and why of this like training material that I gave it. One of the other really cool things about, well, you guys heard, what did you think of the audio quality and how those podcast hosts did, Matthew, in your professional opinion?
I really think it's good. And the thing that I like is it's not monotone. Like there's inflections of conversation. They go back and forth between the two hosts. They're co-hosting it. So there's dialogue between the two of them, right? For me, I like it.
I do too. And it's based on really solid learning science. Your brain actually processes the information a lot more effectively when you're listening to someone dialogue about it, when you have the different voices, when there's a little bit of when you're podcasting, sometimes we talk about something and we sort of chew on it for a minute with each other before we move on.
Yeah.
That just helps people process that information a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the neat thing about these podcasts, no, you can't swap the hosts. The host voices are the same right now, but you can edit a lot of what you have the podcast generate. So I'm showing a quick little screenshot here of the different ways you can customize. Notebook calls this the audio overview. So you can make it like a deep dive of all of the content. You can do it more like a brief. So it's shorter and it's more of highlights. One of my pros recently was talking about how he used critique mode. He was looking at some SEO related, like tactical information that they were considering for the business. And he ran how to critique it. And he said it gave him some really great insights and ideas. You can hear them debate a couple of different topics. So if you want to, you're thinking about strategy, that might be helpful. And you can change the languages, which can be great. And really just generally prompt the AI host to focus on specific things. So a lot of customization opportunity here that they've made available more in the last year.
That's amazing. It is an incredible tool that can be used. And as we're showing, it is not that difficult to use. It seems daunting when you first get into it and you're trying to figure out how to navigate it and all that. But once you get into it, it's really not that daunting.
Exactly right. So as far as like a quick actionable takeaway that I like to recommend is, get on into a NotebookLM, drop in one or two of the SOPs or something like your employee handbook, and have it generate one or two little podcasts that you might use with your team, like roll it out immediately as like a weekly refresher. Give them a 10, 15-minute thing to listen to on the road. Say, hey, I just wanted to refresh you about this process. Give it a listen. This is our weekly, training revisit. Keep things fresh in your mind.
I love that. What a fantastic idea. All right. So what else in NotebookLM? It's not just podcasts. So people maybe listen to this and they like podcasts to listen to this, but they think my staff is not going to listen to a podcast, or that's really not going to fit in our culture. What other things do we have access to?
Yeah, everything inside of NotebookLM is built around this middle chat module. So anybody who prefers to just chat, type something in. This is all very mobile friendly too. So I like to tell everyone, when you load create some great little notebook. I call them buddies. Create a buddy with different, SOPs from your team and help your teammates download the mobile app, bookmark it on their phones so they can open it up and they can type something in if they have a question, or they can use like that voice to text button on their keyboard. They can ask it a question, the way they would ask you a question, and send it in and see what the response is. But in addition to just texting into the chat, Matthew, have you and I taken a look before at using the talk feature with the podcast? Have we seen that?
No.
Okay, so the podcasts get a little more interesting. So if you hover over the audio overview, you'll see that there's this little icon that they call interactive mode. Looks like a little hand waving. So we're going to do a quick demo of this. And so what you guys are going to hear, I'm going to play the podcast that we just listened to again. I'm going to let it go for about 30 seconds so you can hear it's the exact same podcast. It's the exact same host talking. But now that I'm in interactive mode, I'm going to click a button that lets me join the podcast. The hosts are going to stop and they're going to acknowledge me and ask what I want to say. And I can ask them any question that I want. I can dialogue in any way that I want. So this is that part that I think is a real game changer, especially when you're trying to train your teams to use the resources and materials available to them and spend less time asking the project lead or manager or leader. Hop in and actually talk to the documents a little bit and see if it can answer your question.
I love that.
So let's give it a quick listen.
Ever feel like you're just drowning in to-dos, especially when you're working on a team?
Oh, yeah,
It can get really crazy.
absolutely.
So today we are diving deep into a system that promises to make things run a little bit smoother.
Okay.
Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
I think this process is really great, but I'm a little concerned that my high-performing members of my team are going to feel like this is kind of micromanaging them. How do I navigate that?
That is such a thoughtful and realistic question.
That's a great point,
You're right. Nobody wants to feel micromanaged.
especially your high performers.
The key here is the collaborative part of this system.
Okay, let's unpack this.
The source material really emphasizes that this shouldn't be a top-down decree.
It's not about watching their every move
It's about empowering them to set realistic boundaries.
and own their time.
If you look at the example in the source material, the manager is initiating an open discussion about new projects.
Not just assigning them blindly.
They want team members to
All right, I hit pause. What did you think, Matthew?
That's so awesome. It is amazing, this ability to dialogue back and forth with you, because what happens, at least let's take it from as an audience member, someone who's listening to this podcast, I'm sure they're thinking of, I wish they would ask this. I wish Matthew would ask her this. In this context, you can do that. You can
Ooh.
ask a follow-up question that you wish would have been interjected into the podcast. You can ask that right there.
Yeah. And to the point that not everyone likes to read stuff, sometimes just listening doesn't feel engaging enough either. But if you can actually chat in with them, this is such an interesting way to use this technology. This is one of the first places that I've seen this technology used so well to make it really dynamic and interactive. So, one of the other use cases is think about your new team onboardings, right? When you put all of your orientation material in here and you give this to a new hire to help get them oriented. This is like the Swiss Army knife of orientation resources. And sometimes asking questions is intimidating for people, but having an AI, we find the research has found that people feel a lot more comfortable asking questions rather than sometimes like asking a coworker or
You don't look stupid.
Exactly.
It's somebody that's not going to make you look stupid or feel stupid. So, Morgan, what happens if an employee asks a question that is not documented in our source materials?
It's a great question to ask. I think usually the hosts actually they do their best to answer it. So this is a tool with the AI does have like general knowledge base information like you would from the internet. It would be good. It's a good practice to like trust but verify and teach your team to make sure that they are tying it back to the source material. And most of the time, if you're chatting with it, the good news is that it's actually going to tell you those citations. It's going to tell you exactly where it pulled it from.
Yeah.
But this is a good exercise too, to prompt your team when they have questions. Did you ask Buddy, right? Did you ask your AI trainer? And if you did, tell me why the answer wasn't clear to you, or tell me what about it didn't, where was the goal? Where was the gap? I'm sorry. And that's a really good opportunity for you to go in and continue to add to and support the training content to make sure that we're growing and evolving it over time.
I love that. So, but let's not beat a dead horse. Is there anything specifically else that you want to make sure we touch in NotebookLM? It's an incredible resource. Hopefully, everybody who's listening to this is going to go in. They're going to play with it. Give us one more thing, one more takeaway that we can do as an audience member.
Let's take a quick look at the video overview. So it's kind of like the podcast, but it's actually generating visuals that go with it. So I'm not going to play the audio on this since we're a little tight for time, but I am just going to pull up and show you, some examples of what these visual components look like in the videos. So basically, it's taking a shorter version of that audio format, but it's also attaching some visuals. NotebookLM is creating these visuals for you. And it just looks like, a little training video that you might have. So it's got some little questions on here, some nice little graphics to support the content. It's going to pull out some of these call outs into bullet points and different graphs. Like you would, see in a typical team training.
Yeah.
So these videos tend to be 7 to 10 minutes. You can also customize them, and they just, take some of the pressure off when it comes to pulling together a visual component if you're teaching something.
I love that. What an extra incredible piece for us. Okay, so you're not only working with NotebookLM. So we're definitely, everyone who's listening to this, please go notebooklm.google.com, get acclimated with it, start using it for yourself, start using it for your team. But what's next, Morgan? What other things? If somebody's already knows that and they're like, I'm already using NotebookLM, that's silly. That was a waste of my time. It was not. But what other pieces of resources do you utilize that you're very passionate about to help specifically business owners be more productive in their day?
Yeah. And then honorable mention before we close out NotebookLM, when you guys get in there, make sure you check out the mind map visuals, the flashcards, the quizzes. I find that a lot of the pros that I work with, they find this is a pretty good replacement for things like Trainual, which can save a lot of money in individual businesses. So what next? What else is the big thing? So one of the things that I love and get a lot of use out of, and is also probably one of the biggest pain points for the pros that I work with, are email communications. So Matthew, if I ask you, what percentage of your week do you spend shuffling through your inbox?
It's not as much anymore. After we spoke in August of 2025, it is definitely not as much as it used to be. It used to be several hours during my week.
Yeah, and then for members of your team, similar, like have you shown them how to use some of the AI workflows we've discussed to help manage communication and email?
We're in the process of doing that. Yes.
Cool. Yeah, rolling it out is sometimes the hard part, but let's get into a couple of examples of where AI can be super helpful when it comes to email management. So I like to share this because most businesses I talk to, this is a huge pain point. They're like, it's inboxes get cluttered, they get clogged. So first, and this is a really important takeaway, AI is amazing. AI is not a magic bullet. And most of the time when we talk with pros, my husband and I are fond of saying, AI is great, it can help, but what you've got is probably an ops problem. It's probably some kind of little behavior change or something that somebody can do that's going to make this a lot easier. So the first couple things I'm going to show you around inbox management. This is inside of Gmail. Hopefully most of you guys, it's applicable for you, or you can find something similar in your inbox. First things first, AI is going to be a lot more helpful in managing your inbox if you can cut out the clutter, cut out the crap, right?
Love it.
It's pretty good at sifting through and helping you prioritize things, but it's going to perform a lot better if you can be more targeted. So one of the first things I like to show, have you seen this managed subscriptions thing that Google has?
Yes.
So this is huge. Most people haven't seen it yet. Inside of your Gmail, in the left-hand side in the settings area and your little toolbar, there's a manage subscriptions menu that's pulled in all of these recurring emails you're getting, and it's making it really easy for you to one-click unsubscribe your way down that. So this is, stop number one when it comes to reducing the amount of clutter in your inbox so that AI can help you more with the following steps. For those of you that are in that inbox, most of the email providers are also making it a little bit easier to do that. From the top level, if you just scroll over a marketing email subject line, a lot of them are starting to show one-click unsubscribe. So clean up your inbox first, teach your team to clean up their inbox. Use filters inside of your inbox to, say things from this person, we can mark them red, we can clear them out of the way. A couple of little simple behavioral changes there that make it a lot easier. But then the AI. So when we're inside of something like Gmail, or if you're a Microsoft user, you might be using Copilot. There's a couple of different spots that you can tap into AI. So for example, I'm going to pull up an example email from my buddy Marcus, where we've been talking about his AI attendant and his phone tree. And inside of this email, I open up an email, and then the little toolbar area of Gmail, you have access to Google Gemini. So right where you would typically edit like your font size, or you'd put bullets in or attach something, there's this little magic write. It's a pencil with a little AI, and you can tell it to help you write anything. And it can be as simple as draft a reply, and it's going to look at the content of your email thread and help, you know, take out 80 to 90% of the legwork so that you can just polish. Use anything like this, Matthew, or are you using ChatGPT?
We're using this.
Cool. So
Yeah.
this works really well. You can do all kinds of things with it. This takes out, like I said, it'll get you 90 to 95% of the way there, tweak a couple little things, and then recreate it, refine it using AI. You can shorten it, you can formalize it, and then insert it into the email and use it to, kick these responses back out to your team. So that's one way that you can use AI for the emails that need a response from you. The other one that I like to point people to, those on the upper right-hand corner, we have Gemini up here. So Gemini at the top of your Gmail inbox can do a lot of things too. So it can help you sort through your emails. It can help you find specific things. It can help you draft from up here. And up here, you can also search your Google Workspace or search your calendar if you have some specific things that you're trying to reference. So there's some really great AI capabilities built right into your inbox. But I like to take it a step further. What about you, Matthew?
I'd like to, and I would love for you to talk through what you do on your way into the office.
Yep. So one of my favorite questions, and so this is one that I like to share, which is I like to use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is my go-to for my default AI application of choice. And so I really like hands-off workflows. So I'm a big fan of what can I do? How much work can I get done where I don't have to be staring at my computer? I don't have to be staring at my phone. So what I do is I open up ChatGPT on my phone, and I've gone into the settings of ChatGPT and into this little area in the settings that's called apps and connectors. So for those of you who are listening along, just navigate into your settings. This is the same for almost all of your AI tools of choice. There's something called apps and connectors, and it gives you the option to start plugging your AI tool into your other apps like Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive. And this is the little special one I'm going to show you here, which is I've actually connected my ChatGPT straight into my Zapier so that it has access to a lot of the things it normally wouldn't have access to
amazing.
because I've connected it into Zapier. This is very new, and as you can see, it's actually only available in developer mode because
Okay.
with great power comes great
Yeah,
responsibility.
sure. Oh, yeah.
You can do more things, you have to watch it a little more closely. But it can plug into all kinds of stuff: Canva, Spotify, Zillow, your Dropbox, your contacts. So Slack, plug it on in and see what kind of things you can do. So what I do is I've got it connected to my Gmail. I've got it connected. I like to use the voice mode here instead of ChatGPT. I take my phone when I get in the car in the morning and I drive my son to daycare. I stick it up on the dashboard. I open ChatGPT and I click on voice mode and I say this, and I'm dictating into ChatGPT. Go ahead and search my inbox for the last few days and prioritize any emails that need a response from me. Give me a quick summary of what's happening in my inbox. I'm going to kick it out. So for those of you guys that are listening in, I've just sent that in as a prompt. ChatGPT is processing through this in the background. So what I like to say is talk to it exactly the way that you would talk to a human assistant of yours. So I used to do this several years ago with my executive assistant. I would hop on the phone with her first thing in the day, and she would have her inbox, or she would have my inbox open while I'm running around doing things. And she would be talking to me about what was happening in my communications, and I would be dictating responses back for her to plug in and coordinate, my client follow-ups and things like that. But now I just do that with ChatGPT. So it's showing you live time here, and I am going to actually pull up a quick little video here that will show for anyone who's watching along with us what this can look like. Let me make sure the audio on this is going to stay off. Okay, so this will jump along a little bit faster so we don't have to wait for it to process. You see this coming through?
I do.
Okay, so basically you send that note out and it's going to go through, and ChatGPT actually does a really good job of prioritizing through your inbox. So if you've taken those steps, you've cleared out some clutter, it's coming back and it's like, hey, here's 4 or 5 emails that need a response from you. And so in this example, it pulled one from my client Larry, who's like, hey, hear you that we got to reschedule this thing. Looking forward to hearing back from you. And all I do is I click on the audio and I talk back and forth to this ChatGPT thread, and I say, draft a response to Larry. I want to say XYZ, and it'll do it. And I'll say, hey, can you go search my Google Drive and find the meeting notes from the last session we had and give him a recap and send him a link, and it'll go through and it'll draft all of those emails for me. And so my daily workflow is just talking back and forth with it and having it draft those emails. And before it pushed some new updates, then I would come back to my desk, and this is what many of you can do if you're not getting fancy with developer tools. I come up to my desk and I open up my ChatGPT thread, and I've got all of my comms already drafted and customized, and I just copy paste, push them into my inbox and send them out to my clients. So that's the level of access that most people will have with default ChatGPT right now. If you plug it into connectors, it can read what's going on in your workspace. It can read what's going on in your email inbox, but it's stopping just short of actually writing those emails on your behalf unless you do some special permissioning, which I'm happy to show you an example of if you'd like to see.
Yeah,
Matthew.
please. I definitely would like to see that.
Okay, so this is really exciting because actually this dropped last week. You and I rescheduled from our podcast. This dropped like the day or the day before you and I were going to look live. So it gave me a little more time to play around with it and show it to you. So here we're back at the screen share. So what I'm talking to you right now about is I mentioned that I connected my ChatGPT to Zapier. This is through what they call MCPs, Model Context Protocol.
Okay.
And basically what this means is it's a new way that people are building connection points between apps and AI to make them more AI friendly. So
Okay.
now this is the pathway that we can give AI not just information, but we can give these AI tools the ability to go take action on our behalf. The reason this is considered like a developer tool right now is because, like I mentioned, when AI can go take action on your behalf, there's a little more potential for mischief. There's a little more potential for things to go off the rails. So we want to watch it a lot more closely. So they're slow rolling, making this available. Okay. But a quick example, so this is the ChatGPT server that I have connected to my ChatGPT. So you can see I've connected it to Gmail, and you can see that I've given it the ability to create drafts, send emails, delete emails, reply to emails, get attachments, right? So those are some of the examples of the action abilities that I've given my ChatGPT. I've also given it Google Calendar permissions, so it can add attendees, it can create events, it can actually do scheduling things like an admin would, right? And then similarly with my Google Sheets, my Google Docs, my Google Drive. So I've given it the ability to not just read, but to actually go take action whenever I direct it to take action.
Wow.
Okay. So this is what that looks like. Right now, I say, and I would recommend if any of you are going through testing some of these things, keep a human in the loop, right? Until we've really established a high level of confidence. So right now, this is pretty new. I'm only having ChatGPT draft things in my inbox, and I go look and I double check the draft and it looks good and I hit send. I'm probably going to do it that way for at least another 4 to 5 weeks before I start saying go ahead and send on my behalf. And even then, I'm going to go double check what it's sending to make sure it looks good. And then you can get into when you're more confident in how it's doing, just like training a teammate, right? You're going to be a lot closer to them at first, walk, crawl, and then run, and then we can spot check, whenever it's running. So right here, what this is showing you is it did a nice review of my inbox, told me what's going on. I'm going to tell it. I'm going to say draft an email to
So
Matt.
what I see, Morgan, on my end is the follow-up with Larry.
Thank you for telling me I was screen sharing the wrong thing for you.
That's okay.
And this is it. Okay. Can you see ChatGPT now?
I can.
It should
Perfect.
say mini to-do list.
Yep.
So I'm going to say, draft an email to Matthew, thanking him for the podcast recording today. And we're going to see what it does. I should have told it draft an email in my inbox. I might have to tell it to push it in a second. But you guys will see it's thinking for a minute. And you can see that I'm in developer mode, which is what's enabling these extra tools. And if you click in and you see what it's thinking about, you'll see that it takes a few seconds. Okay, it's drafted this email for you, Matthew. And I'm going to go ahead and say, put it in my Gmail drafts. Or it could say send it, right? It could search and figure out who you are from my contacts. Especially if we'd already been emailing, or if it has my Google contacts, it would know your contact info and it would just send it. So you can see here, it's calling the tool that I for it. It's thinking about it. And it's prompting me, again, they put some guardrails in place. Hey, do you want me to create this in Gmail? Yes, I give it that permission to create it, and it's going to push it on in. And over time, I would say probably within the next couple of months, this capacity probably won't be developer only. It'll be something that they'll start to make more readily available for people.
Wow.
So it's common.
It's what an incredible resource, right? And that's really what we're trying to get to. So Morgan, we're getting, I just want to be respectful of your time. Thank you for sharing your insights. I know there's one more piece. So your day job, when you're not training people on AI, you've built this unbelievable team and you've scaled it really quickly. We were talking right before we started recording. Can you give us just some real quick tips on scaling team and managing that with AI?
Absolutely. And I just sent that email your way, Matthew, so you can check it out and respond later.
That's awesome. It
did pick out who you were from my inbox, which was great. So yes, thank you for that transition. So I like to share, scaling operational teams. I jumped in supporting some of the bookkeeping and tax teams for House Call Pro, and I was employee number 1. And in the last 2 years, we've scaled that team. Actually, within 1 year, we had scaled that team to about 80 plus heads in seat. We've got a little over 115 heads in seat in current day.
It's amazing.
I couldn't have achieved that level of scale without the amount of AI that we're using. So we use it for creating those first drafts of job descriptions. I used it pretty heavily in creating skill assessments as part of my hiring pipeline. So that was a big part of it. But the thing that I want to share with you today has been something I've been the most excited about bringing to some of the pro businesses that I've been working with, is this idea of using an AI paired with some automation to help kind of squish and condense that middle manager layer.
Nice.
Most operational teams that I work with, their managers spend a ton of time chasing paper, chasing that information, chasing reports. So Matthew, if I were to ask you what every member of your team did yesterday, and if anybody is off track, how easily could you answer that off the cuff?
Not very easily. I would have to make multiple phone calls. I would have to look. It would not be easy.
Yeah. And when you make those phone calls to like your management team and stuff, how many of them would be like, "Hey, I got to go dig. I got to go ask."
Yeah. Then they're got to go find. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I have up on the screen share here is a really quick little visual. You can tell that I did this without the help of AI because of how poorly drawn it is. That's just me. But what I'm showing you guys here is 3 simple automations that anyone could build inside of something like Zapier or Make that accomplish something really, really powerful for operational teams. So the first automation that we're looking at here is a daily accountability check-in. So what is this? I recommend all operational teams, you think about every member of your team they've got certain things they should be doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis. So what you should do is formulate a quick 5 to 6 question daily check down report for every role within your team.
Nice.
And the purpose of this daily check down report is kind of twofold. The first part of it is clear communication, right? Like this is to avoid that, hey, you were responsible for this thing, it didn't get done, why?
Yeah.
And then saying like 3 weeks later, well, I forgot. No, every day you have a reminder that you're supposed to be doing this. And I asked you yes or no, did it get it done? So quick example of what that might look like would be, nope, never mind. I don't have it up in handy. Basically 5 to 6 questions, yes and no. Did you do the things you're supposed to do? Yes and no. And a couple of quick, I recommend like number reports.
Okay.
Report on the number of client calls if you're an admin. How many incoming client calls did you take? How many client callbacks did you have? Did you answer all of the emails from the last business day? That sort of thing. And what this automation does is it just sends them a reminder the same time every day to fill it out. So it's usually like a text message, or some of the teams I work with, we use a voice agent for this. So they call it and they give it a report of what's going on. And one of the questions that's really important to ask is like, is anything off track? Are you having trouble with anything? Is there any
Okay.
risk that you want to flag? So this is that opportunity for them to, highlight something that they want to bring to your attention. So that you want this to be easy to do, and you want it to path if anything is off track or red flag. So the little automation here is really just sending them a link to their daily checkdown report. And as soon as they fill it out, it pushes the results of that daily checkdown report to a G sheet or a table somewhere. Okay. Automation number 2 is just double checking those results. And when it's double checking those results, it's trying to say, did everyone submit it? If no, I'm going to remind them again. If they submitted it, yes, I'm looking to see, is everything on track or is anything off track? Was there a red flag, right? If there was a red flag, I'm going to escalate that to a manager. And so the idea here is it's following up with your team for you. Very simple automation, just on a schedule. AI is analyzing all of the inputs from this against a scorecard that you give it. This means it's good. This means it's off track. If anybody has an issue, flag it to me, give me a summary, send me a text message, send me an email.
Wow.
So what we want to do is use automation and use AI to push information up to your leaders instead of having your leaders spend so much time chasing information and chasing updates.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
I love what a great perspective for us to look at this as, instead of having to chase information, it's coming to you.
Yeah. And so we want to empower our human team to spend the time doing the things that only they can do, right? Those high value tasks. I want my leaders to be decision makers. I don't want them to be paper chasers, right?
I love that.
And then this last bit of the automation that I recommend is on a schedule. So maybe once a week or twice a week, we have a different layer of an AI review. So this one's not necessarily just looking for red flags, but it's doing a full analysis, right? We're telling it, look at this more comprehensively. Maybe we have it looking at multiple roles and the checkdowns from all of them across the last week. And we can have it do any kind of analysis we want to generate an update, a leadership report. You can have this format be anything that you want and push that to our leadership team on the right schedule so that we have this more comprehensive view of, are there opportunities for improvement? Are there risks happening? What are the trends that we should be seeing and paying attention to? So we can use AI to provide that insightful review. And again, push it up to your leadership team so that you guys aren't having to chase it. And instead you're in a position to just act on good information.
Morgan, this has been a delight. This has been a lot of information. I hope that our audience will go back and watch this multiple times to digest the information and apply it. But if they want to know more, so when you're not speaking, when you're not leading the team, are you consulting on this? Or you have anything that you can take this expertise and, outside of just an hour-long podcast, give some additional folks hear this and say, I've got layers and layers of work that I can add within my organization on the AI side, and I need some help. What do they need to do? Is that something that y'all provide?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. I'm very happy to say my husband and I do some consulting and training work. And this is an exciting time because we're actually just now relaunching the format.
Nice.
Previously, this was very business by business. We'd, connect. We had a limited number of businesses we worked with at any time. That's still the case, but we now have a limited membership program. So in the next year, we have a certain number of seats for businesses that we want to be your go-to AI team. And so that is, use us as an active resource, touch base with us when you have questions. We'll do a couple of structured training exercises for you and your team every month. And you've got open access to leverage us as that AI team in your pocket.
Love that.
Some of our pros, they want a little bit of help building some of these automations. They want to get a little more hands-in with executing some custom things. And we're happy to help our members with that too.
That's awesome. Well, if you can, at least after the show, if you can give me a link to be able to put into the show notes, so everybody, you've made it this far in the podcast and you hear this and you want to know more, you need some help, reach out to Morgan. I know that our team has, and our team will continue to do that. I'm thankful for your time, Morgan. I thank you for the way that you're leading. Thank you for the way that you're helping educate in a very practical way, that you're not speaking over people, but you're speaking to us in the home services space in a way that we can understand it. Thank you for sharing so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. I will definitely give you that link. So those of you guys who are interested, check it out in the show notes. Come chat with us, let us know, sit down for a few minutes and talk through anything you've got on your mind. And Matthew, let's do it again before too long.
We most certainly will. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Market Mavericks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.